Alrighty, here is a lesson on the Major Pentatonic Scale. We always learn the minor first. There's a couple reasons for that, especially if you're familiar with any of the stuff that I've done. You know, the Minor Pentatonic Scale is a big cornerstone of that. You know, we got to start with just kind of the difference between major and minor. Major stuff, just the simplest, way to understand it is that major stuff sounds happy, minor stuff sounds sad, or major stuff sounds light, minor stuff sounds dark. There's lots of, technical reasons for that, but all you really got to understand is just kind of that simple concept. Major is light, minor is dark. We start with the minor pentatonic scale because you can use it in a lot of different scenarios. If you're playing a song that's in a minor key, it's just going to sound correct because the notes that are in the scale correspond to the notes that are in the chord. Again, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's a very simple explanation. But you can also play the minor scale over a major backdrop in the key of A. And when you play that minor over that major chord, what you get is the sound of the blues. There's a note in the chord, which is this note, and a note in the scale, which is that note. That's called the major third, that's called the minor third. Again, that's a little more advanced once we get into intervals, chord construction, scale construction, but just know that the harmony, the chord, has this note in it, where the scale has that note, and the clash between those two notes, would be, let's see. That is the sound of the blues, that tension that we get from that. So when you're playing over that A major chord, that is the sound of the blues. It's called an accepted dissonance. So we learn the minor scale because the minor pentatonic scale, because if you're playing in a minor key, it sounds correct. If you can still play it in a major key and you just sound bluesy. Where the major pentatonic scale comes in is sometimes when you're playing in a major key, you don't want to sound bluesy. You want to sound quote unquote happy or major. And that's where the major pentatonic scale comes in. So there's a few concepts we're going to very lightly touch on here, but this is more, this lesson is more for usage than understanding. Once you kind of have the tool and know how to use it a little bit, it becomes easier to understand why it works that way. So we're going to kind of focus on the how you use it rather than the why it works. So A minor pentatonic scale. If you want to play the A major pentatonic scale, all you do is you take that exact same finger shape and you move it down 3 frets. 1, 2, 3, down here to F sharp. So it would be an F sharp minor pentatonic scale. And that doesn't sound very happy, but it sounds like a minor pentatonic scale because we're rooting it off this F sharp. But what we do is we take that same finger shape, that F sharp minor pentatonic finger shape, but we start it off this pinky and we don't play that first F sharp. So then you get this. So that sounds a lot happier. It's because the focus has gone from this F sharp note, which is minor, to this A note, which is major. At least the chords are. One way to kind of look at these, it's called a relative minor. So any minor key, or major key, in this case A major, that we'd want to find, you'd find that A, you go down 3 frets, and that's your relative minor key. It's based off the 6th note of a major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's an F sharp, that's an F sharp. So an F sharp minor pentatonic scale will contain the exact same notes as an A major pentatonic scale. We're just starting 1 on F sharp, we're starting 1 on A. That's a concept we'll come back to quite a bit, but all you got to know is that if you want to play in a major key, you find the root note, you go down 3 frets, 1, 2, 3, and then play it off that pinky. I'm going to mess with this in a lot of different keys, just so you can get the hang of kind of moving this thing around. So I'm going to move it down to the key of G real quick here. That gives us an open position, G major pentatonic scale. So when you're playing the major pentatonic scale, you can't play the same licks that you do in a minor pentatonic scale, because you tend to focus on that root note quite a bit. You know, you want to, be an E minor pentatonic scale. But if we focus on, because you're landing on that root note. But if we focus on kind of not landing on that note, not landing on that E note there, and landing on one of the notes in this G chord, which you can visualize here. All of a sudden, that sounds a lot different. We're playing exactly the same notes, but we're focusing, or kind of landing and accenting different notes. So it'd be the notes of that G chord. So if you can visualize your G chord, you're going to want to land on one of those. An easy way to kind of visualize this is that, here's your G chord, so it's contained in the scale. So some of these notes in the scale are chord tones, some of them are not. Just like this is your E minor chord, all those notes are in the scale, and there are scale tones and there are non-scale tones. We even play the same lick, but if it lands on a different area with the chord, it's going to sound a little different. You've really only got one good bend. This guy here, that second fret, if we're in A, it'd be here, or A here, because you're bending up to the third of the chord. There's A chord, major third, we're bending. Same note. So, but hopefully you can kind of see, that, it works over both of those chords, because you've got that E minor, and that, all those notes are contained in that chord, and you've got this G major. So hopefully that helps as a visual aid. But anyway, the way that I learned how to kind of really play this thing was by playing over the Allman Brothers song Blue Sky, which to me has two of the greatest major key solos of all time. If you listen to it, it's got Duane Allman playing the first one, not slide, playing in standard tuning, which is odd for him, but it's great. Then they have kind of a call and response little thing in the middle that signals to switch to Dickey's solo. Dickey takes over and plays my favorite major key solo ever, and then it ends with a beautiful major key harmony lick. But that is in the key of E major. So if we're going to find the correct place to play over that, we're going to find this E note here, 12th fret on your low E, obviously. We're going to walk down 3 frets, 1, 2, 3, to the C sharp note on the 9th fret. But we're going to, again, we're going to leave that note out. We're going to start it off that E. And it sounds beautiful. Threw a little extra there. That's the 4th that you add that, and it makes the hexatonic scale, which is really more what the Allman Brothers are playing, but it's a bonus little note here, and it's a lot of fun to play that stuff over. And it's crazy because you're playing, if we were playing that over a C sharp minor chord, it sound a lot different. But we aren't playing over a C sharp minor chord, we're playing over an E chord. But I would recommend kind of listening to that solo bit, even if you're not interested in country or, country blues kind of stuff. For other kinds of music, different kinds of rock and roll, different, just all kinds of different stuff. It helps to be able to kind of navigate between the minor dark sound and the major kind of sweet sound, get a little sweet and sour action going. And eventually you learn to kind of mix and match them together. That's a kind of a topic for a different time, but But really cool sounds. But but you gotta kind of get them separately first, minor first, major second. And then we'll start kind of weaving them together. But playing over that blue sky, I can't really recommend that high enough as far as getting a feel for how to play this thing and listen to those solos to really hear people that really know what they're doing with it. So hopefully this helps, and holler if you have any questions.